Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, we are here yet again. It is that time of the season where I, Pee Wee the Plug, take a lucky NBA franchise and realistically, let's emphasize that, realistically rebuild them on NBA 2K. But before we do that, in this video, we got a lot of work to do. Y'all can tell by the title. I know y'all see the thumbnail. I'm going to be leaning on y'all a lot this video, so I need y'all to lock in with me. And I need y'all to give me y'all honest feedback after this video in the comments so I can make my decision. This is usually something I post on Twitter. Hey, what team should I go? And I let people vote on Twitter. But no, this year I want y'all, the people who are actually going to watch and who have watched previous series, I need y'all to give me y'all best info so we can create the best series. I appreciate y'all as always, but without further ado, let's dive in. Before we fully dive in, we have to give the context on how we got here and got these 4 specific options. Yesterday, I posted a tweet saying, ready to start a new series on 2K25. Sell me on what team I should use. Give me some reasons too, please. Whoever gives the best sales pitch gets a shout out in an episode of the series. So I went and I bookmarked all the replies that suggested these 4 teams and ultimately sold me and pitched me with the best sales pitch. So first we got Kimba Crossover, aka Shake and Bake. He's vouching for the Hornets. He says, bottom team in the NBA that's never experienced real success, bring the hype back to Charlotte. You got the good core of LaMelo, Brandon, and Mark to build around. And last but not least, and very instrumental in when deciding who you want to rebuild, he says, one of the best color schemes in the NBA, so the viewing experience will be even better. That is something to me that is extremely instrumental when deciding who you want to rebuild in any game, baseball, football, 2K, the court, the jersey, all of that. It means so much more than you think. And also, he got 2 likes, and he got a reply from somebody that was vouching for him saying, hey, man, he's cooking. This is one of the best ones I've seen. So shout out to Shake and Bake for that. We got my boy Phil Rob, a.k.a. Jeffrey Jenkins. He says the Nets would be the best pick in my opinion. Young team, no solidified star on their team, not many picks to use in the draft. If 2K does the picks right, it will be nice to see what direction you take the team. Then we got Aquino Asia. He says the Clippers. Narrative, is Kawhi still the number 1? How much does Harden have left? New arena and rebrand. Clippers curse. Can they finally succeed? Has more. Assets, no picks, a great coach, a ton of utility role players. Derrick Jones Jr., Chris Dunn, Batum, KPJ, Zubac. The most complex situation in NBA. And then Will the Thrill. Shout out to Will the Thrill. He says, I like it, but I don't think the question is about Kawhi being a number 1. It's more so, is there anything we could possibly do to keep this guy healthy and on the floor? Because when he's playing, he's top 5 player in the league every night. I would agree with Will too. I still love this pitch. Everything he said is right. The first one is Kawhi a number 1. Again, like I said, I agree with Will, whereas less is he a number 1, but how can we get him to be the effective number 1 so our team can succeed? So I really like this pitch a lot from Aquino. Thank you so much, Aquino. He's always active and stuff that I got going on. We got Deuce OKC. He says Brooklyn Nets. They just started their rebuild, so they hired you to be the GM of the future. First and foremost, love this type of sales pitch. He's selling it as if like it's real life and they're hiring me. Like, that's just incredible. You got your picks back. Get to see what Cam Thomas can do with no leash and can take the team and can tank in the first year to get Cooper Flag. Obviously, that's not a given, but we would definitely be tanking. And then we got my boy ATB Sports 1. He says Miami Heat, not too bad, not contenders either. A lot of tough decisions to make. Hero, Butler, you can build around Bam and see where that takes you. This is actually an idea that I had when I made this tweet. Was not sure that a lot of Miami Heat tweets was going to be there. We did get some Miami Heat picks, though, and tweets, so I like that. And then last but not least, and probably the best sales pitch according to the community, 147 likes, 3 replies. I quoted this tweet, and it also got a lot of support. The Clippers, they have minimal cap room for change, no first-round picks until the 2030s, not a contending team right now, and can't see what moves they can make to get there. New Jersey/logo, too. Shout out to my boy Jay Pullett, always showing major love. That's how we ultimately got the 4 teams. We got a Hornets pick, we got 2 Nets sales, we got a Miami Heat one, and then we got another Clippers one, 2 Clippers ones as well. So that's how we ultimately got here with these 4 options. So now what I did was I started the my league, whatever we call it these days, the era stuff, and I selected all 4 of the teams. And I'm basically going to do now for the rest of the video is go through every roster, look at the situations, and really try to figure out what do I want to lean to. Now, don't get me wrong. The question isn't like, let's do the legitimate, the hardest one. Because when you look at these 4 teams, it does kind of seem like the Clippers are going to be tough. You know what I mean? You're basically with a team that's not garbage, but they're also not contending. But they're spending quite some money on a 33-year-old Kawhi, who we haven't seen healthy in a while. You have a 35-year-old James Harden, who is still effective, but, you know, he's 35 years old, making $30+ million. And then outside of them, you just got solid guys. Zubac is solid. Norman Powell is solid at 31. You know what I mean? Really, really solid as a 6-man. You got Derrick Jones Jr., Terrence Mann. So there's just a lot going on here, right? And it's very challenging because obviously the Paul George trade, you gave up all of your future. And in a normal reality, you're just like, oh, we just trade Kawhi and get our future back. But again, with Kawhi being 33 and having the injury history he's had and the lack of success with the Clippers, I don't even know if his value on the market gives you your future back. You know what I mean? I really don't. I don't think you get 5 first-round picks for Kawhi Leonard at 33, and we don't know if he's going to be able to play in the playoffs. I don't think a team is doing that. But with all that being said, it is a very interesting choice because, again, everybody who pitched the Clippers, they hit it right on the head. How do you build around this team that does have a 33-year-old Kawhi who has not been healthy? You do have James Harden as your starting point guard, and you don't have your future. And you also don't really have crazy picks from the past. Like our young guys, Cam Christie, who I do like, Jordan Miller, who I do like out of Miami, the lefty. You got a Kai Jones you can try to rebuild up. After some lost season with the Hornets. You have Kobe Brown, who seems to be solid. Amir Coffey, he's already 27. So you got, some guys that you can try to develop yourself. And then when you talk about just trying to make this team better, who do you trade? Like if we did do the Clippers, and I'm like, all right, I'm keeping Kawhi and James Harden by default. What wiggle room do we have? Where do we go? I don't see a world where we can make any type of trade that changes anything for us. Honestly speaking, there's not anybody on here like, hey, we putting Bones Island on the block. And the NBA is like, yo, we got something for you. Like, nah, this team. And that's kind of why I'm also kind of leaned off of this team because I feel like there's not too much I could do if I'm being realistic. I mean, I would just have to play it out and see if Kawhi is going to be healthy. That's just really it. I know when you do these series, people love storylines. They love player development. They love trades and acquisitions and different things like that. This first year with the Clippers, I mean, we would just have to play through it, really. We legitimately would have to just play through it and see if one of these guys who are quote-unquote on the younger side could be some type of unsung hero. You know what I'm saying? Because they ain't going to be awful. They're not going to be, like, terribly bad. But, yeah, I can sketch in Kawhi playing 60, 65 games at the most. And is that going to be enough? Because the West is super, super deep. So that's my only thing about the Clippers. I do love the storyline of potentially trading Kawhi, having to get to that point. I do love that they have new jerseys and a new colorway. I actually like the new jerseys because I went there with my career. I like all of that, but it's just like, and again, if I'm doing it realistic and I put Kawhi Leonard on the trade block, there will be teams that's going to want Kawhi Leonard, but I honestly don't think you're getting some heist for Kawhi Leonard. You're not getting 5 first-round picks. You're just not. You're just not with the injury history. Now, if there was proof that they would be getting a Kawhi Leonard that they could count on to be there, then it's a different conversation. Then you might get, record-breaking draft picks. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thoughts with the Clippers as far as my interest level and where I'm taking it. Obviously, I'm gonna open up the comment section for y'all to state y'all cases and, paint pictures. But outside of the jerseys and like the potential of trading Kawhi Leonard, it's nothing there. And when you think deeply on trading Kawhi and how we do our rebuilds here, you're going to be stuck with like, yeah, you probably ain't going to get much. So that was my thoughts on them. Now, the Miami Heat, I think the Miami Heat is a lot more interesting because Jimmy Butler has been hurt, but his playoff history as of recent is a lot different than a Kawhi Leonard's. He's also in the last year of his deal, minus the player option. You also have somebody like Tyler Hero. I think he would be extremely hard to trade because I don't know who was trying to buy in on $93 million of Tyler Hero. for the last 3 years of his deal. But there's somebody that's always willing to bite, and I just love their young pieces. So I think Bam is still dope at 27. I like Jaime Jaquez at 23, even though he's a quote-unquote older young player, but 23 is still young in my opinion. Big fan of Nikola Jovic. And then I also love this year's lottery pick in Khalil Ware. They have some things that I really like on his team. I love Heat culture and that whole identity of always just, being able to squeeze out the most potential of every player. And it's something about Miami finding a way to always pivot. As soon as, it's like the big three is crumbling and, oh, man, you got to start back over. But they got some really good years out of D. Wade those last few years of his career. And there was still playoff teams with Goran Dragic. You know what I mean? Like, the big three exited. You still kept Chris Bosh and the Asian Wade. But then Bosh had the blood clot stuff. You still found a way to, get Dragic. Dragic was a big acquisition for them at that time. You drafted Bam at 13th. You had Justice Winslow. They always, you had Josh Richardson come out of nowhere, Hassan Weiss. They've always just known how to pivot to stay in the mix. And they positioned themselves to be one guy away. They got Jimmy Butler. They made a couple finals appearances. And now here we go again, where it seems like Jimmy Butler might be at the end of his Heat tenure. And it's like, man, what are the Heat going to do? Because if you take Jimmy Butler off of this roster, the potential of this team drops significantly. And they're going to have an answer. They're going to find a way to get a guy. You know what I mean? They would be a team where it's like, oh, my gosh, I didn't think Kawhi Leonard would be on a Miami Heat. And not only did they get Kawhi is now healthy. So I love this idea, though. I love the direction I could go with having Bam, having Khalil Ware, having Jaquez, having Jovic, whatever you do with Jimmy Butler. I don't think you're getting a Godfather offer for Jimmy Butler either, but I do think there is value there to get something back instead of him walking away for free. And you just have to figure out the rest of the pieces there. But there would be a nice little youthful movement going on there behind Bam Adebayo and some of these other guys. So that's my thought process for the Miami Heat while also having Erik Spoelstra. Now, the other side of it that kind of, I don't want to say turns me off, but it's kind of like you have to remember the Miami Heat also has that identity. You know what I mean? They're kind of set up. I'm not worried about the Miami Heat. Everything that I'm saying, they're going to find a way to do it themselves. And because they have the history of that, it's not much I'm playing for but to keep up their history. Like the Clippers have the curse. The Hornets haven't done shit. You know what I'm saying? The Nets are in dog shit and have attached themselves to the worst trades in NBA history. The Miami Heat are pretty prestigious. So I wouldn't be adding anything to my resume by making them back into contenders because they are, a high caliber organization out of all four of the teams. Next team we got is the Hornets. This is probably one of the most intriguing teams because you do have this young player in LaMelo Ball who's an 88 overall, only 23 years old. Next to him, you have a Brandon Miller who's a 21-year-old who's 81, who had one of the better rookie seasons last year. You just didn't hear about it because he played in a year where Vic was a rookie. Miles Bridges, with all the BS off the court stuff aside, he's an 81 who's 26, and he fits the play style of what you would want to have LaMelo playing, which is kind of run and gun. And then you have somebody like Nick Richards, who's a man in the middle, only 22 years old, and he's that guy who's the back line of the defense, who could close out possessions with rebounding the basketball, and we just go. You also have a dirty work bench center and Nick Richards, who's a board hunter. He's going to clean that glass as well. And then the most intriguing thing is, you just look at this roster from a direct aspect. They only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They only have 6 guys older than 25, and 2 of the 6 guys are 26. They're right there around the 25 age. So theoretically, you only have 1, 2, 3, 4. You only have 4 super older guys, right? The rest of this team is pretty much 25 and younger. You know what I mean? Miles Bridges and Nick Richards escaped by a hair. You know what I'm saying? But this is a really, really, really young team, and I think that's fun. I think that's dope. And some of the other guys that I didn't mention, you got a Josh Green now on this roster who can get out and run. Trey Mann, who's a shot creator, could be your 6th man, or you could start him next to LaMelo and just have a dynamic backcourt. Got to worry about the defense. But, Trey Mann, I'm really, really high on. Love this opportunity for him. You also have Nick Smith Jr., who I really like coming off that bench. You got Salon, who is their reigning lottery pick this year, who, you can develop. There's just a lot going on here. A lot of youth, a lot of athleticism, a lot of scoring, a lot of running, and a lot of speed, length. There's an identity that can be cultivated with this team. So that's really attractive there. Also, the history, like one of the pitchers said, they never have had high level success. They haven't had high level success in LaMelo Ball era. I don't think they don't have a championship in their franchise history. So there's something to play for here. And they got the new coach, Charles Lee. So me coming in would be the new GM, new coach. You know what I'm saying? And we would be trying to rewrite some history for the Charlotte Hornets. And last but not least, the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets obviously just traded Mikal Bridges. They got a little bit of their future back this offseason as well. But you have Cam Thomas, who we really don't know the level of player Cam Thomas is. We do know that Cam Thomas is a bucket. But at what level? Is he a bucket, in spot opportunities? Is he a bucket on a consistent basis where he can play 82 games a season as the number one option with defenses focusing in on him and he can still deliver? Nick Claxton. Can we get Nick Claxton back to what we saw him to be? He got his money now. He's solidified. And then you have trade chips. You have Cam Johnson, who I think could be extremely valuable to playoff teams. I think Schroeder as a backup point guard could be extremely valuable to contending teams. Same with Bogdanovich. Same with Dorian Finney-Smith. Ben Simmons is finally on the last year of that $40 million contract. You also have other young pieces like Noah Clowney. You have a rebuild project inside of your rebuild with a guy like Killian Hayes. Day'Ron Sharpe is another good young talent. Trendon Watford is another good young talent. You got Zaire Williams from the Grizzlies who can now come in and try to see what you can get out of him. Once was like the best player in the nation in his high school class. That wasn't that long ago. You got Dariq Whitehead, another top player in his class. Like, just great guys. Where is it's great? Jalen Wilson is not on this roster. That's odd. Jalen Wilson is one of my guys on the Nets, and he actually won Summer League MVP. I wonder what the hell that is about. We gotta figure that out during this video. Let's go to free agents. Only 2K has shit like this happening. Patrick Beverley's in the game, but where is Jalen Wilson? That is extremely odd, y'all. He's a guy that when we talk about the Nets on the podcast, I bring up Jalen Wilson. Like, I can't wait to see what Jalen Wilson, like, for them to just not have him on the roster is kind of crazy. I see Amari Bailey in there, so maybe. And I'll be understanding, it'd be tough because in real life teams be carrying 19 players and then they get to the actual start of the season and you start seeing cuts and waves, and 2K can't really do that because of the roster limits that they have. But Jalen Wilson is a guy that I think should be on the game, and I should be able to pinpoint where he's at. I don't see him on the Nets. I'm not seeing him in free agency. PJ Tucker is in free agency. Am I tripping, y'all? Am I tripping? Let me make sure I'm not tripping. PJ Tucker is not a free agent, right? PJ Tucker is a Clipper. Yeah, he's a Clipper. Again, I don't know what the roster spots and the amount of players on teams. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, he's a Clipper. Obviously, Marcus Morris is a Knick. Where is Jalen Wilson? Again, did I just see? Yeah, Matisse Thybulle. Matisse Thybulle is on a roster, right? Is a player for the Blazers. Yes, he's on the Blazers. I know I'm not tripping. What the hell is this rush job from 2K where, yeah, Jayshawn Tate is a Rocket. I don't even have to Google these. I'm mad I allowed 2K to make me Google these as if I didn't know. There's Jalen Wilson right there. Jalen Wilson is a Net, and Jalen Wilson should have a badge. This is, again, something that irks the hell out of me is when they have players on here in their second year, and you telling me this dude wasn't able to get one badge. I don't understand that one. If I'm the Net, can I negotiate? your roster is full. So that's what it is. There's some fullness to these rosters that 2K just couldn't figure out because you have to have the roster limits. But at the same time, I mean, man, Jalen Martin got to get his ass off the team then. Jalen Wilson is not the guy that you say, hey, no, you put Killian Hayes' ass in free agency before you do that. But yeah, those are my thinking for each team. It's going to be tough because a lot of these teams have stuff. I really am intrigued with what's going on with the Clippers. I would say if I had to personally rank them in my mind, I may go Hornets 1. I would say the Nets and the Clippers are a tie, and then I would say the Heat are the last. The reason, this is the thing on how I feel about the Nets too, and I'll say this to wrap up the video. The Nets are kind of like some of the other teams. So a lot of people were saying Bulls because they heard me talk about Bulls for 2K24. The reason I'm not doing the Bulls, and the Bulls are not that bad of an idea, it's just that when I was getting intrigued with the Bulls, they didn't pick Modest yet at 11. DeMar DeRozan was still kind of on the team. It wasn't like he's in Sacramento. Because they've kind of done these moves now, it's not nothing really left for me to do. Zach LaVine is going to be extremely hard to trade. Hence why he's still on the Bulls. Vucevic, he's going to be hard to move if you even want to move him. My idea was I was going to take Khalil Ware at 11 in my 2K24 rebuild. I didn't think Modest Buzelis was going to be available. I'm not mad at the Bulls drafting him. That's my boy, obviously. But I just don't. There's not a lot of room for me to put me on this team. You know what I mean? I want to do me with one of these teams I rebuild. You know what I'm saying? I want you to be able to see, boom. And I don't know if the Bulls really offer that. The Nets are they have that advantage. While I could positively say the Nets that we have right here, if we did the Nets, would not be this team next year. That's a given. There would be a lot of change. They would have the most change of any team. The Clippers is hard to say what would it look like, but there's a chance that the next year 2 of the Clippers would not look like this at all. And then the Hornets, they're a team where I think you can project to see a lot of these names. I think LaMelo Ball would be here. Miller would be here. Williams is going to be here. Trey Mann would be here. Salon would be here. And I think Nick Smith Jr., that's a good 6 names that I just named that would be here. You know, half the roster would still be intact. So we'll just have to see. Y'all let me know everything in the comments. Again, continue to give me reason. You know what I mean? You don't have to have paragraph reasons. You don't have to, rinse and repeat the same things that's being said. But when you're processing one verse or the other, that's what I'm looking for. If you tell me to do the Hornets, why should I do the Hornets instead of the Clippers? Why should I do the Clippers over the Nets? That's what I'm looking for in the comments. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I can't wait to start this. This shit is going to be exciting. I'm probably going to have to figure out if somebody did something to the rosters where they're going to be a little bit more intact. To do the Nets and not have Jalen Wilson is going to drive me insane. So I got to figure out some things there. But I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all in episode 1 of the series. I'm out. Peace.